Welcome to Hot Drama TV.
If you scroll through social media long enough, you'll notice a strange pattern. Every few weeks, a new voice appears. A song explodes overnight. Millions of views. Endless comments saying, "This is the next big star." And then silence. The voice disappears. The name fades. The algorithm moves on. In the age of short videos and instant fame, becoming famous has never been easier. And staying relevant has never been harder. The internet creates singers the way waves create foam. Brilliant for a moment, gone the next. 99% of internet celebrity singers follow the same quiet ending. No farewell concert. No last hit. Just a slow vanishing into digital memory. Yet there is one story that doesn't follow this script. Liu Yuning. Before the stage lights, before the drama soundtracks, before the national recognition, there was just a young man standing in front of a camera, singing into the void of the internet. No powerful company behind him. No carefully designed idol image. Just a voice, rough around the edges, emotional, unmistakably human. At first, he was no different from thousands of others. He sang covers. He relied on the same platforms, the same algorithms, the same fleeting attention. By all logic, he should have been another temporary name in a never-ending list of viral singers. But something unexpected happened. People didn't just listen, they stayed. They stayed because his voice didn't sound perfect. They stayed because it carried weight. They stayed because it sounded like someone who had lived, struggled, and endured. Most internet singers chase popularity. Liu Yuning chased connection. And that difference changed everything. The truth is, internet fame is a dangerous illusion. It gives the feeling of success without the foundation of it. Many viral singers are trapped by their first hit. Unable to grow, unable to evolve, unable to survive once the trend fades. They mistake attention for ability, views for value, and applause for longevity. Liu Yuning didn't. Instead of clinging to his viral moment, he treated it like a doorway. He stepped through it and walked into a far more demanding world. One that doesn't reward noise but endurance. He learned. He adapted. He accepted criticism. He stood on professional stages where filters don't exist and audiences don't forgive weakness. And he didn't try to erase his past. He carried it with him. That internet singer label, which destroys so many careers, became part of his story instead of a limitation. It reminded people where he came from. It made his success feel earned, not manufactured. In an industry overflowing with polished images and scripted personalities, authenticity became his quiet weapon. There is something deeply symbolic about his journey. It tells us that the problem with most internet celebrities isn't talent. It's impatience. The internet rewards speed, but real artistry demands time. It rewards exposure, but real careers require depth. Fame can be borrowed, but credibility must be built. Liu Yuning built his. Song by song. Stage by stage. Failure by failure. He didn't escape the system, he outgrew it. And perhaps that's why his story resonates so strongly today. Because in a world obsessed with shortcuts, his success feels like proof that there is still another path. A slower one. A harder one. But a real one. So when people ask why 99% of internet singers disappear while one remains, the answer isn't mysterious at all. Most people want to be seen. Very few are willing to be tested. Liu Yuning was. And that is why, long after the trends change and the algorithms forget, his voice is still being heard. But there is another layer to this story, one that people rarely talk about. Fame doesn't fail most internet singers. Fame exposes them. When the spotlight arrives too fast, it magnifies every weakness. A shaky vocal becomes obvious. A lack of musical identity becomes painful. The moment the audience asks for something new, many singers realize they don't know who they are beyond the song that made them famous. That's when fear appears. Fear of being forgotten. Fear of not being good enough. Fear of realizing that the applause was louder than the ability behind it. Some try to copy trends. Some chase controversy. Some disappear quietly, pretending it was all a coincidence. The internet moves so fast that no one notices, except the singer themselves, watching their numbers fall, wondering where it all went wrong. Liu Yuning faced the same moment. The difference is that he didn't run from it. He understood something crucial. Attention is temporary, but trust is not. And trust can only be built when an audience believes you will still be there tomorrow, and the day after that, regardless of whether the spotlight shines. So instead of fighting the industry, he learned its rules. Instead of rushing success, he accepted the grind. Instead of trying to look perfect, he chose to be consistent. That choice is invisible from the outside, but it is everything. Behind every performance that looks effortless is a quiet accumulation of discipline. Vocal training when no one is watching, rehearsals that don't make headlines, and patience during periods when progress feels painfully slow. This is where most internet stars lose interest. Because slow growth doesn't feel like success. But real careers are built exactly there, in the unglamorous middle where passion is tested, not praised. Liu Yuning stayed in that middle long enough for it to transform him. And when he finally stood on the biggest stages, something felt different. He didn't look like someone borrowing the spotlight. He looked like someone who belonged there. Not because the internet decided it, but because experience had shaped him for it. That's why his transition into mainstream music and acting didn't feel forced. It felt earned. Audiences are more perceptive than we think. They may be drawn in by trends, but they stay for sincerity. They forgive imperfections, but they never forgive emptiness. And they can sense when a voice carries truth rather than ambition alone. This is the quiet reason Liu Yuning survived. Not because he was louder, not because he was luckier, but because he was real and willing to grow when no one promised a reward. In a way, his story reflects something much larger than music. It reflects the reality of our time. We live in an era that celebrates instant results but rarely teaches endurance. An era where visibility is confused with value, and speed is mistaken for direction. Many people become famous before they become ready, and when reality catches up, it leaves scars. Liu Yuning became ready before he became permanent. And that may be the most important lesson hidden inside his journey. So the next time a new voice goes viral, the next time the internet declares the next big thing, it's worth asking a different question. Not how fast they rise, but how they respond when the rise slows down. Because trends create stars, but time reveals artists. And time so far has been on Liu Yuning's side. And maybe that's the quiet irony of it all. The internet loves beginnings, but it rarely stays for the journey. It cheers when someone rises, but grows impatient when growth becomes invisible. It rewards spectacle, not perseverance. Yet every once in a while, someone appears who refuses to play that game. Someone who chooses the long road even when the short one is tempting. Liu Yuning was never the loudest voice in the room. He was simply the one who stayed. While others burned brightly and disappeared, he kept showing up, imperfect, evolving, unafraid of time. And in doing so, he turned what was supposed to be a temporary moment into a lasting presence. So this story isn't really about fame. It's about endurance. It's about what happens when talent meets patience, when authenticity outlasts trends, and when a person refuses to disappear just because the world is moving too fast. Long after the viral songs are forgotten, long after the algorithms change, what remains is not the noise, but the voice that had something real to say. And perhaps that's the real reason his story matters. Because in an age that asks, how fast can you rise? His journey quietly answers a better question. How long are you willing to stay?